All right, so I'm going to give you a summary of chapter 12, which is the big picture. And with this one, it's really talking about at the beginning how ideas with great reach should really anchor your coursework and your entire programs for the unit. We should get rid of units that are isolated, and they even used kind of the one tour of each topic, kind of getting rid of that and making sure that all of our curriculum is looking at the bigger picture. They also talked about entrance points in, to where to start, and really getting those big ideas and then creating your essential questions from there. Once you have your essential questions, there's many more that lead up to that. Some are planned and some are not, and that's okay to have those that are unplanned as well. Those can lead you to great places too. I liked in this chapter how they talked about specifically for math, some questions that you could be asking your class, like how do you know when you're done? How do we represent things? When should we estimate and when shouldn't we? And these are just good questions that don't always have a specific answer, but they can be kind of dropped on lots of different areas in the class. And like I said, they take a little bit of deeper thinking. It also talked about performance tests and giving good problems with that are rich enough to guide them with their thoughts and consider these essential questions. Um, then they went into rubrics from there and talking about how it's easier to have rubrics that are actually spread across subject areas so that students are familiar with them across the board and it's not different for every topic in every class. So just kind of getting with team members and those in school and creating rubrics so that they have a similar language, that students are being able to transfer information, and we can show that through the rubrics. Another part that they talked about is the scope and sequence, and this kind of brought me back. I know when I got to my bachelor's, we talked about this in class, and we had a whole unit on creating our scope and sequence. And really, in this chapter, they talked about some of the flaws with that, and not so much seeing curriculum as a linear from top to bottom, but more of kind of like a bigger picture, like a circle kind of format that you can go in at any place. There's not necessarily one starting point because just like in real life, you're going to have problems and have to grab, um, from many ways. So that's just kind of talked about that again with the topics not being so on their own. We want everything to be together and have a purpose in the class, and that will maximize the transferability, is what they said. And we want effective use of the stuff, and we don't just want them to learn the stuff. We want them to be able to use this when they leave our classrooms. Um, they also talked about the struggle that students might have that are normally some of your A plus students that are good at getting things done right away, and how they might struggle not being able to get that instant gratification of getting the right answer on that first try. So just really working with those students as well, and pushing them further and getting them to kind of change their opinions on things or see things differently, playing that devil's advocate role as well for them to kind of push through further thinking for them. Again, they gave more examples for the math class, and it doesn't always need to be done in that sequenced order, um, which is something that is new for us. And then they talked about the spiral curriculum as well. At our school, we actually went and did this over summer and looked at the geometry as a spiral curriculum, and we worked on that. And then we found out about a week and a half into it in the classroom that this was not working for our students here, or was hard for us, one of the two. And even though the idea was really great of how we just kept using the information and building off of that, coming back to it, this was hard for our students that were absent or popping into class halfway through. Unlike a unit where you can just say, "All right, well, we started this last week. We have a week to catch up." They've missed all this instruction, so it's kind of this hard part of where do I start with this student in this spiral if they come in, as opposed to, "Oh, it's just this one topic. We just need to go over these things. We're going to push back these others." Not necessarily that I agree with that, but it was a struggle that we had in the classroom with our students. Next, they talked about redesigning our syllabus. And this is talking about just including more big ideas and essential questions instead of topics, instead of putting this kind of timeline on our class of when things need to be done and we have to get to so many things. but more or less looking at the big idea of the class and these essential questions that we're going to be looking throughout the whole entire class. Um, so this kind of helps us as teachers to kind of frame our lessons from there, but then also gives those students an idea too that it's not this thing that we have to get through 7 topics and we have to rush through them, but yet that we're going to be digging deeper in the topics that we do touch upon. So anyway, that is the big picture for chapter 12.